Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, the 2nd of September, 2025. It is 3:39 p.m. and I have just started our 3:30 class recording for the Tuesday and Thursday group. I will share the screen. I will go as quick as I can over the update of last week because we have started the second half of our course. I think that you will remember when I mentioned that this course flies in time. So we are right in the middle of it. We barely have 1 month and a half to train all the 11 questions of the speaking and the essays writing, which is normally what the students struggle more with. So last week was basically for us to focus on the email writings. Everybody collaborated in our collaborative work. And so far, I have grouped here in this document 31 different practices. The first document brings prompts only so that the students that are watching or the students that want to do more practices can enter the document, copy and paste whatever they want, write the emails, and share the documents with me by Gmail. And if you want to write emails and you want to check, for example, one or two before you do a third one, you have all the prompts here again, but this time we have all the answers written in class and corrected in class as well. There are a few, I would say, out of these 60 or at least 65 emails that we have in this document, there are 2 or 3 that are not corrected because the students needed to do extra work, so we need to meet again and to correct those. But you will clearly notice when it is and when it is not corrected. And that was basically it. Then we were emphasizing the importance of a specific vocabulary. You were provided with this book here and this specific vocabulary list here. The more we get closer to the speaking classes and exam at the end of the course, the more important it is to acquire specific vocabulary. As you can notice, I insist a lot on the specific vocabulary. And I would like to suggest everybody to do something like this. So you have the specific vocabulary here, not only because of work, but also because these are typical essay TOEIC topics. So if you practice and if you keep in touch with this list, you are going to save a lot of time in the future when you need to write both emails and or essays. And what's more, give your opinion in the speaking exam because they normally go around the same. So you might not have this for an essay, but you might have this for an opinion given in the speaking exam, for example. So this document is very useful in all those aspects. Inside this document, you will find a third book. Where are you? Here. TOEIC essay examples in this book. In here, you are going to find several essays. I think they are 25 or 26. They all follow the same structure, but you will notice the advanced, the B2s, and the B1 just by having a look at them. So what is important? That our organization is the same for all of them, introduction, body, conclusion, that the structure is the same, meaning that we are looking for complex structures, idioms, phrasal verbs, and timeline, apart from the 5 paragraphs that we need. But this is for later on week 7 on. But anyways, you can start having a look at it. And what I was going to suggest was, for example, this. Because I don't know if everybody knows, but you also have voice typing on the Google document. So if you want to practice specific vocabulary, specific topics, and we can also practice reading and pronunciation, we can use the voice type to check our pronunciation. So all you have to do is open something interesting for you, both this or this, and start voice typing. So it is tus herramientas or eines in Catalan, voice typing, escribir por voz in Castilian, and escriure por veu in Catalan. And there you need to make sure that you change your language to the English you prefer, American or British. And when you want, you can just click here and start talking so that you can check if what you are saying it correctly, and if the artificial intelligence understands what you are saying. For example, restaurants, comma, chef, comma, waiter slash waitress, comma, bartender, comma, order, comma, server, comma, bill, comma, tip, comma, food to go. So look at how I said this instead of this. It wasn't my intention. So it is that the artificial intelligence fails, or is that I mispronounced? So I go there and I do it again. Chef. 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 Okay. So this is because I am mixing British to American. Okay, so that's one more way for us to train our pronunciation. Apart from that, I think everything was okay. Waiter, waitress, bartender, order, server. It is serve here, but I said server. I remember. Bill, tip, food to go, and that's it. One more way for you to train your pronunciation. Okay? So the tip is given, and it is also a very nice way to practice. Okay, and we have arrived to today, Monday and Tuesday classes. So we are going to watch a TED. It takes 20 minutes. You are going to give me your opinions about what he says. And more than that, you are going to say, what would you do personally around the topic? And then we are gonna train for job interviews. All right? So let's share the sound and let me open this. If you have any vocabulary questions, you interrupt or you take notes so we can talk about it afterwards, whatever you prefer. I don't have any problems in pausing the video. All right, let's go.
I want to talk a little bit today about labor and work. When we think about how people work, the naive intuition we have is that people are like rats in a maze, that all people care about is money. And the moment we give people money, we can direct them to work one way, we can direct them to work another way. This is why we give bonuses to bankers and pay in all kinds of ways. And we really have this incredibly simplistic view of why people work and what the labor market looks like. At the same time, if you think about it, there's all kinds of strange behaviors in the world around us. Think about something like mountaineering and mountain climbing. If you read books of people who climb mountains, difficult mountains, do you think that those books are full of moments of joy and happiness? No, they're full of misery. In fact, it's all about frostbites and difficulty to walk and difficulty of breathing, cold, challenging circumstances. And if people were just trying to be happy, the moment they would get to the top, they would say, this was a terrible mistake, I'll never do it again. Instead, let me sit on a beach somewhere drinking mojitos. But instead, people go down, and after they recover, they go up again. And if you think about mountain climbing as an example, it suggests all kinds of things. It suggests that we care about reaching the end, a peak. It suggests that we care about the fight, about the challenge. It suggests that there's all kinds of other things that motivate us to work or behave in all kinds of ways. And for me personally, I started thinking about this after a student came to visit me. This was a student that was one of my students a few years earlier, and he came one day back to campus, and he told me the following story. He said that for more than 2 weeks, he was working on a PowerPoint presentation. He was working in a big bank, and this was in preparation for a merger and acquisition. And he was working very hard on this presentation. Graphs, tables, information. He stayed late at night every day. And the day before it was due, he sent his PowerPoint presentation to his boss, and his boss wrote him back and said, nice presentation, but the merger is canceled. And the guy was deeply depressed. Now, at the moment when he was working, he was actually quite happy. Every night he was enjoying his work, he was staying late, he was perfecting this PowerPoint presentation. But knowing that nobody would ever watch that made him quite depressed. So I started thinking about how do we experiment with this idea of the fruits of our labor. And to start with, we created a little experiment in which we gave people Legos, and we asked them to build Legos. And for some people, we gave them a Lego and we said, hey, would you like to build this Bionicle for $3? We'll pay you $3 for it. And people said yes, and they built this Lego. And when they finished, we took it, we put it under the table, and we said, would you like to build another one? This time for $270. If they said yes, we gave them another one, and when they finished, we asked them, do you want to build another one for $240, $210, and so on, until at some point people said, no more. It's not worth it for me. This was what we called the meaningful condition. People build one Bionicle after another. After they finished every one of them, we put them under the table, and we told them that at the end of the experiment, we will take all these Bionicles, we will unassemble them, we will put them back in the boxes, and we will use it for the next participant. There was another condition. This other condition was inspired by David, my student. And this other condition we called the Sisyphic condition. And if you remember the story about Sisyphus, Sisyphus was punished by the gods to push the same rock up a hill. And when he almost got to the end, the rock will roll over and he would have to start again. And you can think about this as the essence of doing futile work. You can imagine that if he pushed the rock on different hills, at least he would have some sense of progress. Also, if you look at prison movies, sometimes the way that the guards torture the prisoners is to get them to dig a hole, and when the prisoners finish, they ask them to fill the hole back up and then dig again. There's something about this cyclical version of doing something over and over and over that seems to be particularly demotivating. So in the second condition of this experiment, that's exactly what we did. We asked people, would you like to build one Bionicle for $3? And if they said yes, they build it. And then we asked them, do you want to build another one for $270? And if they said yes, we gave them a new one. And as they were building it, we took apart the one that they just finished. And when they finished that, we said, would you like to build another one? This time for 30 cents less. And if they said yes, we gave them the one that they built and we broke. So this was an endless cycle of them building and we destroying in front of their eyes. Now what happens when you happen the Sisyphus condition? And by the way, we should point out that this was not big meaning. People were not curing cancer or building bridges. People were building bionicles for a few cents. And not only that, everybody knew that the bionicles will be destroyed sooner, quite soon, right? So there was not a real opportunity for big meaning, but even the small meaning made a difference. Now, we had another version of this experiment. In this other version of the experiment, we didn't put people in this situation. We just described to them the situation, much I'm describing to you now, and we asked them to predict what the result would be. What happened? People predicted the right direction, but not the right magnitude. People who were just given the description of the experiment said that in the meaningful condition, people would probably build one more bionicle. So people understand that meaning is important, they just don't understand the magnitude of the importance, the extent to which it's important. There was one other piece of data we looked at. If you think about it, there are some people who love Legos and some people who don't. And you would speculate that the people who love Lego will build more Legos even for less money, because after all, they get more internal joy from it. And the people who love Legos less will build less Legos because the enjoyment that they derive from it is lower. And that's actually what we found in a meaningful condition. There was a very nice correlation between love of Lego and the amount of Legos people built. What happened in the Sisyphic condition? In that condition, the correlation was zero. There was no relationship between the love of Lego and how much people built, which suggests to me that with this manipulation of breaking things in front of people's eyes, we basically crushed any joy that they could get out of this activity. We basically eliminated that. Soon after I finished running this experiment, I went to talk to a big software company in Seattle. Can't tell you who they were, but they were a big company in Seattle. And this was a group within the software company that was put in a different building, and they asked them to innovate and create the next big product for this company. And a week before I showed up, the CEO of this big software company went to that group, 200 engineers, and canceled the project. And I stood there in front of 200 of the most depressed people I've ever talked to. And I described to them some of these Lego experiments, and they said they have felt like they have just been through this experiment. And I asked them, I said, how many of you now show to work later than you used to? And everybody raised their hand. I said, how many of you now go home earlier than you used to? And everybody raised their hand. I asked them, how many of you now add not so kosher thing to your expense reports? And they didn't really raise their hand, but they took me out to dinner and showed me what they could do with expense reports. And then I asked them, I said, what could the CEO have done to make you not as depressed? And they came up with all kinds of ideas. They said the CEO could have asked them to present to the whole company about their journey over the last 2 years and why they decided to do. He could have asked them to think about which aspect of their technology could fit with other parts of the organization. He could have asked them to build some prototype, some next generation prototype, and see how they would work. But the thing is that any one of those would require some effort and motivation. And I think the CEO basically did not understand the importance of meaning. If the CEO, just like our participants, thought that the essence of meaning is unimportant, then he would care. And he would tell, well, the moment I directed you in this way, and now I'm starting directing you in this way, everything would be okay. But if you understood how important meaning is, then you would figure out that it's actually important to spend some time, energy, and effort in getting people to care more about what they're doing. The next experiment was slightly different. We took a sheet of paper with random letters, and we asked people to find pairs of letters that were identical next to each other. That was the task. And people did the first sheet, and then we asked them if they want to do the next sheet for a little bit less money, and the next sheet for a little bit less money, and so on and so forth. And we had 3 conditions. In the first condition, people wrote their name on the sheet, found all the pairs of letters, gave it to the experimenter. The experimenter would look at it, scan it from top to bottom, say, uh-huh, and put it on the pile next to them. In the second condition, people did not write their name on it. The experiment looked at it, took the sheet of paper, did not look at it, did not scan it, and simply put it on a pile of pages, right? So you take a piece, you just put it on the side. In the third condition, the experimenter got the sheet of paper and directly put it into a shredder. What happened in those 3 conditions? In this plot, I'm showing you at what pay rates people stopped. So low numbers means that people worked harder, they worked for much longer. In the acknowledged condition, people worked all the way down to 15 cents. At 15 cents per page, they basically stopped this effort. In the shredder condition, it was twice as much, 30 cents per sheet. And this is basically the results we had before. You shred people's effort, output, you get them not to be as happy with what they're doing. But I should point, by the way, that in the shredder condition, people could have cheated. They could have done not so good work because they realized that people were just shredding it. So maybe the first sheet you would do a good work, but then you see nobody is really testing it, so you would do more and more and more. So in fact, in the shredder condition, people could have submitted more work and get more money and put less effort into it. But what about the ignored condition? Would the ignored condition be more like the acknowledge or more like the shredder or somewhere in the middle? It turns out it was almost like the shredder. Now, there's good news and bad news here. The bad news is that ignoring the performance of people is almost as bad as shredding their effort in front of their eyes. Ignoring gets you a whole way out there. The good news is that by simply looking at something that somebody has done, scanning it and say, aha, that seems to be quite sufficient to dramatically improve people's motivations. So the good news is that adding motivation doesn't seem to be so difficult. The bad news is that eliminating motivation seems to be incredibly easy, and if we don't think about it carefully, we might overdo it. So this is all in terms of kind of negative motivation or eliminating negative motivation. The next part, I want to show you something about the positive motivation. So there is a store in the US called the IKEA. And IKEA is a store with kind of okay furniture that takes a long time to assemble. And I don't know about you, but every time I assemble one of those, it takes me much longer, it's much more effortful, it's much more confusing, I put things in the wrong way. I can't say I enjoy those pieces, I can't say I enjoy the process, but when I finish it, I seem to like those IKEA pieces of furniture more than I like other ones. And there's an old story about cake mixers. So when they started cake mixers in the 40s, they would take this powder and they would put it in a box and they would ask housewives to basically pour it in, stir some water in it, mix it, put it in the oven, and voila, you had cake. But it turns out they were very unpopular. People did not want them. And they thought about all kinds of reasons for that. Maybe the taste was not good. No, the taste was great. What they figured out was that there was not enough effort involved. It was so easy that nobody could serve cake to their guest and say, here is my cake. No, it was somebody else's cake. It's as if you bought it in the store. It didn't really feel like your own. So what did they do? They took the eggs and the milk out of the powder. Now, you had to break the eggs and add them. You had to measure the milk and add it, mixing it. Now it was your cake. Now everything was fine. Now, I think a little bit like the IKEA effect, by getting people to work harder, they actually got them to love what they're doing to a higher degree. So how do we look at this question experimentally? We asked people to build some origami. We gave them instructions to how to create origami, and we gave them a sheet of paper. And these were all novices, and they built something that was really quite ugly. Nothing like a frog or a crane. But then we told them, we said, look, this origami really belongs to us. You worked for us, but I'll tell you what, we'll sell it to you. How much do you want to pay for it? And we measured how much they were willing to pay for it. And we had two types of people. We had the people who built it, and we had the people who did not build it and just looked at it as external observers. And what we found was that the builders thought that these were beautiful pieces of origami, and they were willing to pay for them 5 times more than the people who just evaluated them externally. Now, you could say, if you were a builder, do you think that, oh, I love this origami, but I know that nobody else would love it? Or do you think, I love this origami, and everybody else would love it as well? Which one of those two is correct? Turns out the builders not only loved the origami more, they thought that everybody will see the world in their view. They thought everybody else would love it more as well. In the next version, we tried to do the IKEA effect. We tried to make it more difficult. So for some people, we gave the same task. For some people, we made it harder by hiding the instructions. At the top of the sheet, we had little diagrams of how do you fold origami. For some people, we just eliminated that. So now this was tougher. What happened? Well, in an objective way, the origami now was uglier. It was more difficult. Now, when we looked at the easy origami, we saw the same thing. Builder loved it more, evaluators loved it less. When you looked at the hard instructions, the effect was larger. Why? Because now the builders loved it even more. They put all this extra effort into it, and evaluators, they loved it even less, because in reality it was even uglier than the first version. Of course, this tells you about something about how we evaluate things. Now think about kids. Imagine I asked you, how much would you sell your kids for? Right? Your memories and association and so on. Most people would say for a lot of money. On good days. But imagine this was slightly different. Imagine you did not have your kids, and one day you went to the park and you met some kids, and they were just like your kids, and you played with them for a few hours. And when you were about to leave, the parents said, hey, babe, by the way, just before you leave, if you're interested, they're for sale. How much would you pay for them now? Most people say not that much. No? And this is because our kids are so valuable, not just because of who they are, but because of us, because they're so connected to us, and because of the time and connection. And by the way, if you think that IKEA instructions are not good, think about the instructions that come with kids. Those are really tough. By the way, these are my kids, which of course are wonderful and so on, which comes to tell you one more thing, which is much like our builders, when they look at the creature of their creation, we don't see that other people don't see things our way. Let me say one last comment. If you think about Adam Smith versus Karl Marx, Adam Smith had a very important notion of efficiency. He gave an example of a pin factory. He said pins have 12 different steps. And if one person does all 12 steps, production is very low. But if you get one person to do step 1 and one person to do step 2 and step 3 and so on, production can increase tremendously. And indeed, this is a great example and the reason for the Industrial Revolution and the efficiency. Karl Marx, on the other hand, said that the alienation of labor is incredibly important, and how people think about the connection to what they're doing. And if you make all 12 steps, you care about the pin. But if you make one step every time, maybe you don't care as much. And I think that in the Industrial Revolution, Adam Smith was more correct than Karl Marx. But the reality that we've switched, and now we're in the knowledge economy. And you can ask yourself, what happens in the knowledge economy? Is efficiency still more important than meaning? I think the answer is no. I think that as we move to situations in which people have to decide on their own about how much effort, attention, caring, how connected they feel to it, are they thinking about labor on their way to work and in the shower and so on, all of a sudden, Mark has more things to say to us. So when we think about labor, we usually think about motivation and payment as the same thing. But the reality is that we should probably add all kinds of things to it, meaning creation, challenges, ownership, identity, pride, etc. And the good news is that if we added all of those components and thought about them, how do we create our own meaning, pride, motivation, and how do we do it in our workplace and for the employees, I think we could get people to both be more productive and happier. And thank you very much.
You are muted.
I'm trying to get out of here, but I don't know what's happening. Okay, now. Okay, boys, I love the part of the cake. I don't know you, but I was raised having those cakes, and my mom would only buy the mixtures where you needed to add the eggs and the milk. So it is, for me, this is like just coming back in time. I don't think they are very popular in Europe, though, or maybe in Spain. Maybe I am mistaken or not. But when I go to the supermarket, I don't see that many, that many um, cake mixtures. And when you go to the supermarket in South America, more precisely in Brazil or even in America, when I lived there are like dozens of flavors, dozens. I'm not exaggerating, I promise. And what he says about the effort, I completely agree with him. So I will start the comment. I will just say something, and then it's your turn. Okay, so you will try to use your prepositions and your reasonings. Let's see if we can reason in English. All right. So I do agree with him when he says that meaningful approach is much more important than the Sisyphus, for example. I think that money is mm, that money can be a motivation for many people. I don't want to do aging, but I think that money is more motivating for younger people than it is for example, someone my age. In my case, I think that because I have been through life experiences that taught me not to care about money. If you are not going to understand if I don't go into a little detail. When I had my first daughter, I almost died. At that moment, I was 25 years old. I had my house, I had my cars, I had my everything. I was successful professionally, but I got very sick. What happened? Then, when you get sick in the United States, you have two possibilities: you die or you get ruined. And I got ruined. So, after being through that experience, nowadays I don't value money the much I used to. When I was younger, actually 25 younger than I am now, I used to value money and properties and well-being in a different way. Today, my well-being is based in a completely different mm, mindset. Let's say it this way. So, in my case, I would be happy with what some people would say it is mediocrity, but not for me, because I know my background and I know my life story in a way other people don't. So if I say this in a way, oh, I don't care about money anymore, and people will say, you were such a demagogue, you're lying, right? So if I have said this, if I hadn't have, sorry, if I didn't say this, you would not understand my message the way you are understanding now. So, in a sense, I think that one, money is not always the motivation people need. I think that feeling recognized for their job is somehow very important, not to say more important. And I think that this thinking is changing over the time. What do you think, boys, about the motivation, the payment? Is there something else? And how do you motivate yourself in your daily challenges?
Mm, I don't have preference if Mario wanna start it or I can start.
No, you can start. Go ahead.
This is a hard topic because in Spain is a um, hard of talk with the people because normally this topic I don't like don't like it because I don't know. I think that the talk about money is a good topic for learn about difficult chat or difficult. Uh,
Situations?
yep. mm, I think about the fight or or rat race.
The fight.
Yeah, it's a financial independence or retire early. But
Okay.
I think this popular discussion is not popular here in the Spain, and I probably in general of Europe.
Really?
But yeah,
Okay.
people like Kiyosaki, Robert, the Kiyosaki is not popular here because we don't have in children or mm, uh, teenagers economic about economic education.
You were using some terminology terms that I don't completely understand. What is that last thing that you mentioned about?
I was talking about money because the motivation is so hard in this country because don't have your work is not working. It's not working because the salary is no high like UNESCO in
For
Sweden. Yeah,
yeah, I see. I see. Okay, so you're saying that as the salaries are normally lower than in other parts of Europe, that people don't even think about it because they don't go over primary needs, let's say this way, with their
yeah,
salary. Is that what you mean?
yes, more or less, yes.
Okay. And would you, Rafael, because I think that we are three different generations here. I don't know. Mario, do you mind telling us how old you are?
Sorry.
Do you mind telling us how old you are?
Mm, the the thing. The
Your
the quiz
age?
is
No, your age. Do you
ah
mind telling me how old you are?
mm, my age.
Yes?
26.
26. Rafael, you are a bit younger.
No, I am 25 years
Okay.
old.
So I am double your age, right? So you can say that you were more or less raised the same way. So Mario, do you agree with what Rafael has just said? That
Yes,
this is
more or
not
less.
even a reason for debate because the salaries are normally lower than in other European countries?
Yes, more or less. Because I think that in Europe, mm, we we are working to obtain a lot of money to build, for example, the the best life or something similar, for example.
And what is your motivation for both of you to progress or to grow academically? And then as a consequence, you are going to grow professionally. What's the main intention? For example, Mario,
Mm.
then Rafael goes.
Uh, for example, my one aim is to learn about cybersecurity, for example, that I like this topic. I would like to to learn so much about this. For example, talk or just talk with another people that they were working in this topic.
Okay. So the salary, a possible salary raise is not your main reason to
No,
study. Okay. What about you,
for me
Rafael?
is a bit secondary.
Okay, right. And
by
what
me,
about you, Rafael?
I think that the salary is important because I will like have a house and not a life in my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this in this situation about this country is so hard because more politics and another reasons. It's hard.
It is. It
Yep.
is. Okay, so if I understood well, Rafael is more money motivated than Mario. Am I right?
Yep. I
Because
think so.
Mario said it is secondary.
Yes, but this is important too.
It is important too, of course. We have to pay the bills. We don't want to be cold when it's December or January. Yeah, but I'm talking about like the extra step or the further step. So when I mean that, in my case, I say that money is not that very, money is not that very important to me. I don't mean that I don't like having a car, and I don't mean that I don't like, well, nowadays we live in our own house, so we are about to finish the mortgage, but it's been 15 to it's been almost 18 years. So in 10 more years we are going to finish our mortgage. It seems a long time, but it's not. It is not. So in now maybe, um when I say that money is secondary, I mean in the sense of not changing my job, or even if I was offered a PhD for free, I would do it. But if I was offered a PhD for which I needed to pay, I wouldn't do it, because to study a PhD, I would need a lot of money, I would need a lot of time. And at this stage of my life, or after things that I have experienced, I would prioritize other stuff. Even if a PhD diploma would double my salary, I wouldn't do it. So that's in that sense that I say that I am not money motivated. Of course, otherwise I would be working for free, and I will not do that. And I don't expect anybody to do that, right? So when Mario, you say that is secondary, do you mean something like I mean? Maybe meaning that what matters the most is that you like what you do, and as a consequence, you should have like some dignity in your salary. Is that what you mean? I did you hear me,
Mario?
Mario? So what do you
Yes,
mean when you
I,
say, what you're thinking maybe
about what?
about that money is secondary for you, meaning that more important than a salary raise, more important to you is being wiser in your field as you were before the masters. So the main intention to do the masters is self-realization and not a career progress, or it's a
I,
mix.
I think that it's a miss
Okay.
because before the master uh, I didn't I didn't work, and now yes, but I think that it is a miss.
It is for me the same. Okay, and what about the recognizement? What what kind of recognition or recognizement you you have been through or not? How recognized do you feel, or have you felt before, both academically and or professionally? Because we noticed that this is an experiment that they've run, and they proved that the less recognized people feel, the less valued people feel, the less productive they are. right? So can you explain one occasion where you felt truly recognized or not? It's up to you. You decide if you want to talk about the positive or the negative experience. You go, Rafael.
My experience about of jobs and work is not bad. I think that I have so luck. I am working for now.
You
I
were
am,
you are lucky.
yeah. Uh, in this and now I want to take this master because I wanted to take a grow up in my car, professional race.
In your professional career.
Yeah.
All right. And is there a specific situation where you felt especially recognized and valued?
Hmm.
Do you remember something?
I think that interviews about the working was so hard because I was alone. I didn't have help about this, and I like fighting with the interviews, and I try to learn more about
Mm,
this. I found this job, and I am fine, but I could be good.
you could be better.
Yep.
Okay. All right. What about you, Mario? Do you have any experience to share with us, positive or negative?
Not directly, because I think that in when I was working, I am very proactive, I think. I need to, for example, I did anything, and for tomorrow I need to research something about that. I think that it's important. It's not recognized like that, but I think that is
It's
very similar to recognize.
okay. All right. Well, so I think that you are not being recognized the way you deserve, maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe your boss or your manager could at least say, mm, "Thank you for your mm, thank you for your time," for example, something, right? So yeah, that's so that makes me think that you agree with what his main message in the video. Is it possible?
Yes.
Okay. All right, boys. It is 4:30 and you are both cybersecurity students. So you have 10 minutes to prepare a job interview. Let's imagine that you are hiring a cybersecurity officer. Is that how you say it?
Yep.
Yeah. So you are going to hire a cybersecurity officer for your companies. So I think that you can prepare two kind of vocabularies. Of course, the typical interview vocabulary. You know what kind of what kind of training you need to perform this or that position. And you also need to look for the vocabulary for your own company. What I don't understand about it. Yeah, you know that I am a language teacher. So this is more on you than on me. You look for whatever you are interested in. Imagine that you are able to open your own business in the area and what kind of employees you would be looking for. I think that 10 minutes is enough time for you. Maybe even Google the specific vocabulary or even look at your books or whatever material you use in the master, and then you will perform the interviews. I don't think we have time for the two interviews, but for at least one. Uh we can just go random and choose at the moment. Okay? So let me share a screen for a timer. Yes, no. Okay, just a moment. It's not gonna work like that. Yeah. And here. I'll give you 10 minutes. And I would like you to pretend you are in a true interview. What are we doing here? We are looking for the specific vocabulary that you need for your future interviews because you are studying a master to look for a job afterwards. So what's going to happen when you interview? Of course, this is the first time. I took you by surprise. You barely have time to prepare, but this is the first experience. This is going to happen again further in the course. Okay? Let's focus on what we could do in our interviews. All right? You can start. All right, guys. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's choose randomly. And I will prove to choose randomly by doing this. Just a sec. Okay, this is Mario. And this is Sergio, right?
Rafa.
I sorry, Rafael.
Don't worry.
I have so many students, Rafael. I'm sorry.
I know. Don't worry. It's fine.
At least, at least you were not. I'm not change. Well, yes, because I had an Alberto, and I decided Alberto was Antonio, and it took me about a month to call him for his name. All right. Okay, so we have Mario and Rafael. Let's see who goes. Mario, you are the first interviewed. Okay? Because being interviewed is harder than interviewing. I'm sorry, but they chose you. Next class, you will be interviewing Rafael.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So off you go, Rafael. Try to behave as a human resources, as a recruiter. Try to do whatever they did to you in the past in the interviews, but not being very bad.
Welcome, Mario.
Hello.
Hi. I my welcome to the interview about this job. I wanna know about your career, about your experience. Tell me, how are you about your last work?
So I am Mario, and I am graduated in computer science, and actually I am doing a cybersecurity master. For example, I am a passionate person about the IT world, and at the moment I'm searching a job that it will be related about cybersecurity.
Nice, nice. Did you have any experience of English work or just in
Mm,
Spanish?
uh, yes, I was working in a in a business in a business about the basketball. In this job, I was annotating and I studying the statistics about the the matches of a team in Spain.
Did you have any hobbies about this topic?
Yes, but I really like all esports. I only practice football, for example, but I I really like to see another esport like basketball or tennis or like that.
Have you been in 5 years ago in this enterprise?
In fact, just 5 years ago, mm, I would like to see myself in a city that I will be happy with my work in cybersecurity, for example, and in a really nice business or like that, for example.
What do you know about programming language?
Uh, I study the C language, Python language, Java, JavaScript, and at the moment I think that I prefer I prefer Java or JavaScript, and I I am studying more hardly the Python because for cybersecurity is very important.
And do you like more the red team or blue team?
Mm, if I to choose the one, I think that routine because I think that it's really important to for example to learn to attack. Defense is always important.
It's fine. Do you have any question about the position?
Yes, I think I have a question. Mm, what is the salary, for example, mm, next to the 2 years?
We have a competitive salary and more or less 2000 for a year, and
Okay,
you
it's fine.
can ask them for most. So call you later with the decision. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Poor Mario Rafael, you were very direct at the end of the interview. Bye. All right. So, I think that Rafael, you need to structure the sentences a little differently. It is not that we don't understand you, but for a formal interview, I would work on the structures. We can look for, well, I will look for interviews vocabulary for everybody in the master. So everybody's going to have, everybody's going to go through this. Everybody that comes to classes at least. I try to make the students come, but they don't come because they are working. But anyways, I will do my part. Okay. And we can notice as you look for the structures. So I notice that you know what you want to say, but maybe we could go for specific sentences for the interviews, both as an interviewer and an interviewee that you are going to be on Thursday. Okay. But I can understand perfectly what you were saying. I think you said the interview about this position. Welcome to the interview for this job position. Okay. Prepositions in general, I already said that they are little demons, and they make everybody's life a nightmare. So, because it is only for it's you, we only get them by practice. There's no other way. And then let's go with Mario. Mario, in the beginning, you said that you were actually working as a whatever, I don't remember, but you were currently working as a whatever. And then later in the interview, you said at this moment or at this time, something like that. And then you used the correct time expression. But actually is a false friend. Actually means in realidad. So it is currently. I am currently studying a cybersecurity master, right? Okay. And the same preposition for you. The interviewer said the interview about this job instead of the interview for this job. And you said that you were looking for a job. Let me remember the word that you used. Relationated.
Yes, I think.
Okay.
Use.
You're looking for a job related to cybersecurity. Related. And then, Rafael, I didn't understand something that you asked. You asked if he had a hobby,
Yes.
about the topic. I don't remember. Can you break down?
I wanted to say that if he has a hobby about this position, like
Related to
Mona
cybersecurity?
server. Yeah,
Okay, so I think that's the good way to say. Do you have any hobbies that relate to your work, or do you have any hobbies related to cybersecurity? Something like that.
yeah.
And
I will say that this year I have my first interview about English. I was very nervous, but
really,
I learned about these phrases,
I
sentences.
had I had only two in English.
yeah, because Rafael knew what, and we can know that he has been to interviews because he was using the regular or the frequent questions they ask in the interviews. So every person being interviewed is going to be asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? So
Yep.
Yeah.
it is good to know the questions because then you know how to answer them when it is your turn, right? It's part of the training as well. My mom is getting really naughty. Just a moment.
Ah, don't worry, it's fine.
All right. I made her sit down for the moment. Okay. Then one last thing. Harder for Mario. I have written harder and then Python or Python.
Yes, it's a language.
Yeah,
So, but harder, what did I write harder because you say more hard? Ah, you are working
I
harder on
I
something.
I, I use more hardly, I think. But I
Okay.
don't. Is this good? It is good or not?
I would say I am working harder on whatever.
Okay.
Okay. And do you say Python or how do you say it?
I think that I said Python, but it's Python, no?
Python. It is it PH? Do you write like
Yes,
this? Yeah.
it's
Okay. Well, but maybe is as it is technical English, as
speak
this is
white.
not this, I don't know, but I think it is Python. Python.
No, with without H. Yes.
This. So it's
Yes,
Python. Python.
yes, Python.
yeah,
Okay. This is a program, I understand, right? High level programming language. That's when you were saying the blue and the red and whatever you were
yeah.
talking about, right? Yeah, then I was like, okay, all right.
It's a useful language about the programs of ET.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the blue means preventing and the red means attacking.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Boys, we have only 7 minutes and we don't have time for the next interview. The first one is always the hardest, of course, and it's always harder to be interviewed than interviewing. And then I would like you to prepare two things. Mario, you are going to prepare the interview for Rafael, and Rafael is going to prepare an interview for me. Okay? So
Oh,
let's go deeper. I don't want you to expend a lot of time. I think that 10, 15 minutes is more than enough. You can even copy and paste from somewhere, whatever. But I need to be interviewed as administrative or as a teacher because I have never worked with somebody with something different.
I
I've
was
been a teacher
asking
since
this.
1998, so I wouldn't apply for a different position. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, it's fine.
Okay. And then we can continue the speaking, and I will try to bring something funny or funnier for the next class. Okay. But I would like to raise awareness. How do you say that in Spanish? Raise awareness, concientizar everybody about the importance of preparing your interviews, even though you are in the end of the master, but some people are in the beginning of the master. So it is important to prepare ahead of time. Let's not prepare the interviews in English 1 week before the interview. We gotta be prepared and we gotta know the vocabulary that we are going to need. Even if you didn't graduate from the master's yet, but you will know you probably have the program and you probably know what you're gonna be specialized at, right? So two things. Rafael prepares the interview for me, just that we can foresee also other kind of um, structures, and Mario prepares the interview for Rafael.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Nice talk, guys. I hope you have rested a little bit about the grammar and the writings. I'll see you on Thursday, and I wish you a happy evening.
See you.
Okay, you too.
And same.
Bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.